What is up, everybody? It is October 26th. I am currently in Dubai, which is why it's totally dark behind me. And as I always say, these Sunday sessions are amazing to review. These next couple weeks, I'll be working with a trading firm out here in Dubai. And so what that means is I get to share with them my knowledge. I get to learn from them, which will be super awesome. And part of sharing that knowledge is showing you all how I think and what I think about charts and everything. And so what these Sunday sessions do is when the market's closed, it allows us to really take a breather, study some charts, get our bearings, and plan for the week ahead. Now that I've got my audio working, thank you everybody for giving me the holler, the calls, the text messages. Because I'm traveling, I don't have my normal layout, so I cannot otherwise see chat. So you all saved my butt. So that being said, now we're also going to do the disclaimers for the second time. Bloop. This is not investment advice. This is not trading advice. This is just for educational purposes. My thoughts and my views change every second, every minute, every day. So what I share now does not reflect what I might do or think during the week. So please take your own decisions, take your own trades. Don't base it on me. I'm not responsible for any losses or if you get attacked by a flock of pelicans. Now we can really dive in. Sorry for everybody that I kept waiting those couple minutes with the audio issues. Definitely tech travel on the road is never fun, but thank you. And so if you appreciate these sessions, if I drop some knowledge, please hit the old subscribe button just because I'm trying to build up that YouTube and spread the good word to everybody all over. Okay, so first ticker I want to discuss is BYND. So BYND, if you even have a pulse, was the big ticker last week. Everybody on Twitter had some really big days. My boy David Hanlon, congrats to you, brother. Big seven-figure day. A lot of other traders crushed it. Jack Kellogg crushed it. Ducks crushed it. The usual suspects did really well. So mega props. I'll briefly describe some of that and my thoughts ahead. So ticker was beaten down, essentially on the verge of bankruptcy. I think the share price, over the last couple years does enough justice. Yeah, that's pretty ugly and dilutive. Okay. And by the way, also part of travel is my internet is pretty slow right now, so bear with me. Anyways, they ended up doing this dilutive deal, which all of a sudden was, okay, maybe the equity doesn't become a total zero, but still it's dilutive, it's garbage, it's staving off bankruptcy. Then they got the expanded Walmart partnership, and then what ended up happening was we really ended up squeezing and blowing out. So this was the high short interest blowout day. Whether you want to call it a gamma squeeze, a short squeeze, whatever, this was the day that Mega blew out. We failed spectacularly. So this stock ended up going over 10x in a matter of a couple days, super overextended, and then we failed. And not only did we fail, we closed pretty weak. The next day was really weak inside bar. Then on Friday, we broke that trend. And so a couple things to keep in mind. At this point, most of the meat is gone. We're really only coming from 50 cents to $1. We're now back as far as $2 or so, and we were as high as 7 or 8. So for me, anything around this range is probably just a no play for me. It's just too far back, not enough meat on the bone. And truth be told, I've seen a lot of these things do weird things. That shareholder vote isn't going to be until mid-November. So there is a lot of time for things to go wacky. There's a lot of time for other headlines to re-squeeze this. So for me, it's going to be a no play. But here's what I'm thinking. This was the big unwind. This will likely stay the top pending any crazy news. And so what I would love to see over the coming week or weeks even is, can we start to creep up maybe on some lighter news? And can we even push $5-6, maybe even $7, then fail and roll over? Especially as we get into that shareholder authorization vote, that, if approved, is going to unlock future offerings and more shares and everything, and more dilution. So that is likely to be some form of gravity. So if this does start to disconnect again and start to do anything crazy, I'm going to be very much interested in playing that short. Again, depends how it sets up, how it gets there, what the headline flow is like. But this, to me, is not enough meat on the bone. So now, I know some people just want this, so I'll do the quick review of 1022, just because that was a big day. Normally I want to use these sessions to just go for the week ahead, but I know I'll probably get some tomatoes thrown at me if I don't. So pretty large move pre-market. Into the open, we fail. We then start to reclaim. And so here's the thing. This is the fail off the open, we reclaim, we start to bounce to the moving average, we come back and test, we then make a lower high. So we're almost kind of just doing this flag, right? And once this kind of broke above 650, that's when you need to start to give this some breath. That's where if you're really biased short, I think there's nothing wrong with just taking a cover and you can reestablish. We then try to break out. This kind of fails. Once this starts to roll over, this starts to be interesting to me. Starting with this rollover, then what you can do is start to pyramid into these rollovers and even just giving it some type of stop up against those highs from the intraday. And so maybe that's a good first entry, maybe that's a good second entry, but then the real money shot is going to be this break right here, this 510 or so, because all of this volume is now out of the money. And keep in mind, we're still coming from so far lower. So what you can end up doing is shorting, big on this spot. And that is where the real unwind comes. I don't mind doing what I kind of used to call the old Lance special, where the volume really capitulates, we turn higher. So I was actually playing this short, but then I was flipping long here. And so this long, I do the same thing, right? Where if I'm trailing some of this with prior bar highs, then I'll flip long even into this because this was such a big move, right? This was almost like, first mini leg, second mini leg, third mini leg's faster and more aggressive. The fourth leg, this is the biggest leg yet. And now the stock is already off 50% from those highs. So between how many legs, how overextended, and how big this volume was getting, this seemed like a pretty damn good place to flip long. And then I'm just doing the same classic stop of prior bar lows. So this worked out. I mean, this was a halt, by the way, FYI. So this didn't really break. This is like a fake bar where we were just pegged at the upper. So then we end up breaking prior bar lows. So that ends up being a great long play. We then start to compress again. You can re-enter short. And then again, this was just another flip long. I didn't hold this particularly well, but that was fine. And anytime this cracks so hard, I'm really hoping this will have a bigger bounce up towards 5 just to reload some of this stuff. Then the view is that this is the whole massive unwind and then the stock is just going to be dead. And so we didn't really pull back, we didn't bounce that much for a reload. Nevertheless, that was fine. The next day is a pretty small, The next day is a pretty small inside bar. And once we broke that trend on Friday, that's just, in my opinion, just game over for the stock. This was big capitulation day. This is kind of inside bar. Once we break that 275, okay, this stock's dead. Again, I don't want to short pops in this case just because there's not that much meat on the bone to me. Do I think this can keep going lower? Yeah, but it just isn't. It's just not worth it to me. So one thing I do want to point out, because this caused a lot of controversy. So on this 10/22 day, so a lot of people were, where am I? A lot of people were posting the P&L super early. And so let me tell a little story just as far as things would go on the trading desk. So often at Trillium running an office, we would see a lot of traders, you would lose focus in the trade, right? Maybe you just had an awesome trade, maybe you just had a bad trade, maybe you missed the trade. Whether you had a good trade, a bad trade, or a missed trade, a lot of traders, you can then get off your focus and off your game, and then you end up compounding. Or rather than having an awesome day, you could have had your best day. Or rather having a bad day that you made back, you end up don't making it back. And so this is one of those things where it's like, even if you miss, say, oh, this cracks here, and you think you missed the whole trade, we end up setting up right here, having a nice leg. We end up making another leg lower later in the day. So all this stuff, whether it sets up for you or not, on such big trading days, it's almost always worth just staying focused in the game. I think for a lot of people, BYND was one of their best tickers of the year. Maybe some people it was their best ticker ever, which is amazing. And I don't want to detract that from anyone, but the bigger point is when trading's really, really good, don't take yourself out of the game mentally. You never want to do the victory lap just until the day's over, because guess what? You can make your day a hell of a lot better. You can still mess things up. You can still lose money. So it's not about the P&L stuff. Just keep the head in the game through and through. So I think that's always useful. So other tickers I'm watching for next week. So this SanDisk started to go super wild. So this SanDisk, I mean, we're now day 2. I view this almost as day 1 of a new breakout. This is day 2. Now, the interesting thing about this is, so the way I look at this, big picture, this whole area was consolidation. We broke out from 60 bucks. We went from 60 to pretty much like 110. So we made a 50-point leg. That's a big leg. Then, with almost no consolidation, we do a 30-point leg, so not as big. We consolidate a little bit longer. We start to break out, but now we really, really go. So this is the most aggressive point yet. This is the most aggressive leg yet. The volume is starting to really increase. So I don't know what's going to happen with this thing, but if this does continue, this really has the makings of being a capitulatory leg that does kind of potentially put in a top longer term for the stock. And what's also interesting is if I look at a WDC, this WDC is not really participating quite like that. Yeah, we're close to highs, but this whole SanDisk is making a whole nother leg. The STX was looking awful and is still not bouncing. So it doesn't look like STX and WDC are going to be breaking out at all. If these do break out, I don't really want to buy them anyways, just because these were so awful. And that's going to be a theme I'm also going to touch on. And so some of these clean energy names, like the FLNC and the EOSC, this EOSC is battery tech, and the BE, like all this is kind of this clean energy. So a lot of people I've just seen on Twitter are interested in longing these again. Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying this won't go to highs. Anything can happen. Always anything can happen. But what I do want to be cautious of is, given how severe this pullback was, that really matters to me. Because of how severe this pullback was, I'm not interested in buying this at highs. And I think a lot of people will buy this at highs, and just the probability isn't so good after a crack like that. What I'm more interested in watching in some of this stuff is, do we end up putting in a lower high? But I don't want to short into some of the strength. I want to see it put in a lower high, then roll over. So in stuff like, I mean, this EOSC hasn't bounced much at all. So this could, EOSC is one of those tickers where this will fail to bounce and show relative weakness. Then if we crack this moving average, that is super interesting to me. So that EOSC is worth watching. This FLNC, this had a really strong bar. So I'll see, can this do some type of lower high, then start to roll over, and then you kind of get like, you know, the high, the higher high, the higher low, the higher high, the higher low, the higher high, the higher low, then you get the lower high, the lower low. So that's what I'm going to be watching for FLNC. Even this BITF, it's not showing much life, but I'll definitely be watching this. The OCLO not perking up too much. I mean, this OCLO retraced so much. So stuff like this OKLO, after a retracement like that, I think something unique about myself is I'm good at just saying that, like, even if this bounces, like, I think this was capitulatory enough and blow-offy enough that I am okay not capturing the long if this does go. So it's not that I'm necessarily so short biased anymore, because this pretty much retraced most of the whole breakout. So we're kind of in no man's land for me, right? If you recall some of my older Sunday sessions, these bars here were in no man's land. Now we're back in the middle of the range, where this was the breakout area around 85. This is now the relative highs. So we're smack dab in the middle of it. So all of this to me is just going to be a no touch. The quantums I think are actually pretty darn interesting again. Oops. What am I doing? RGTI. So we had that headline that there might be like a $10 million award or some bullshit for some stake in these quantum names. And so that caused these to gap up a bit on this 10-23. But now what I'm watching is, I was really hoping we would bounce. Why? Because I feel that this is kind of blow off capitulatory enough that, again, I'd be wanting to structure a short into some type of lower high. What I did end up doing is just selling some calls, which as of right now doesn't seem like these are going to have the life, and the calls will just collect. But what I'm watching for this is if this can consolidate a bit more. I'm watching that if this can roll over, does this roll over and maybe go towards that lower Bollinger? Just because now we're showing so much weakness and this was such an aggressive leg and we're up so much, I could see a world where we do some type of rollover and make that leg lower. So the RGTI is worth watching. The QBTS is similar. But again, you got to be careful for now because right now we're kind of in that no man's land where I want to see this consolidate then kind of crack. And otherwise, I don't have too much view on those. And so here's another important point is I think people underestimate how much they lose in no man's land and how much I'm hands off on a lot of these charts. So if you were to look big picture at some of this stuff, like QBTS, the breakout area is here. It does its little leg. Like any of this stuff in here, I'm not touching it. Okay, we break out, we do it. I mean, QBTS is kind of one of the shittier charts. Let's go to this. Oops. RGTI. This is the breakout area. That's the leg. This is kind of the consolidation. This is the new leg. It goes. This is the counter trend. Now we're kind of in this indecisive, I don't know which way we're going to break. Are we going to keep bouncing? Are we going to roll over? But I think I do a good job of recognizing that you want to be long here. You want to be long on that breakout. You want to be short when this trend breaks. But a lot of the stuff in between, you just want to be riding or not touching. So I'm very open to some of this stuff. APP, one of the names we discussed in the past, I really thought this was going to roll over. I was watching it at around these 540s. Now this is no man's land. So one theme right now is SanDisk is overextended. I'm watching that. I'm watching a lot of other stocks to make lower highs with the belief that froth topped. But then a lot of this stuff in the meantime, I'm just not touching it in no man's land. I have my alerts, so I'm going to be watching sub 550, and I'm going to be watching if somehow we get above 700. All that is worth watching to me. So while all of that happens, what I'm also doing is I'm paying attention to some of the leaders, like this Apple. So I want to see, with the market at highs, can this Apple break out and go somewhere? This Apple really hasn't gone anywhere in quite some time, so can Apple break out? Another name I'm watching, can Palantir, which has been holding up super, super well, can Palantir break out? How is NVIDIA gonna do? So my running thesis, which again, I always just trade the chart, my thesis is pretty much meaningless, I'm just using it to just infer from the chart, is it possible that froth has put in a top and the froth is now going to have its capitulatory highs, it's then gonna have its kind of low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. I think that's very possible for some of these names, but it's just the thesis, right? I'm just going to listen to the chart regardless, but that's some of the stuff I'm thinking about. So then even this open, with stuff like open, this never capitulated, and this didn't pull back that hard. So with some of these meme stocks like this, you never want to count them out. So I will be watching this. Right now, for me, this is just in no man's land. I don't love how the Bollinger Bands are coming down. This would need to consolidate for me, but it's worth watching. So all of that is definitely very interesting to me. So one other big ticker of last week was this gold. So gold did end up cracking. I know that's something we've been talking about and watching for weeks. So here's the funny part too. And this is, I think any day trader will be able to relate to this. So this gold, I was short this day. I ended up trying to swing some. And when this was so strong, I covered a chunk. Then we ended up cracking while I was asleep. So most of this 1021, let's see. Sorry, I'm on shitty hotel internet. So 1021, where are we? Okay. So we ended up doing all this. It's I think I'm still on Eastern time with this computer, even though I'm not on Eastern time right now. So this ended up cracking overnight. So a lot of this I just wasn't awake for. And so you were still able to play like like, oh my God, you want to talk about an amazing setup. This break in gold at what, 42.60-ish, 42.57, that is such a great, I mean, this is so bouncy ball-esque, where you get the big leg, you get that compression against this level where that's the lower high, lower high, lower high. Yes, this kind of breaks it, but that's okay, because right into this, we just get so tight and roll over. So this is a great defined entry to add some. But then I think if you're any day trader like me, inevitably this stock, gold just melts so much where you end up, I ended up longing this thing. And then what ended up happening is I missed this too. But this was such a nice move because I already thought this was probably worth a bounce. But then this was right when I guess futures kind of reopened. I think I was at dinner. It was like late in the day, so I wasn't paying attention. And for this to go all the way up here, I know we're very overextended in gold, and like it's been a hell of a stretch. But to go from 4,400 to pretty much 4,000 in one day, right by this moving average, when this opened, when the futures opened, and this kind of just melted towards the start of trading, buying this turn at around 4,000, I felt so strongly this was going to bounce. Again, I didn't do it. I was eating dinner and just not even. I don't remember what time. It was a weird time. But I was eating dinner or something. Then by the time I checked, I'm like, oh God, this is going to bounce all the way, isn't it? So right now, though, this is one of those things where we made a pretty massive move for gold. It was somewhat capitulatory-esque. We cracked really hard. So this falls in the category of I want to see this potentially consolidate a little bit, but then I'm going to be looking for either one, can we have continuation lower, or can we put in a lower high? So if I had to summarize a lot of my thinking, is we're kind of in that no man's land spot where I could see us either retracing towards a lower high. Of course that can keep going. Like, of course anything can break to highs, but my running thesis is, some of this stuff was pretty capitulatory. So those highs will hold. My guess is 4,400 probably does hold. So if we were to retrace into 4,300, that's interesting to structure a short against those highs. Or if this starts to do a little flag, like a little bear flag, then we break down. It's not so dissimilar from RGTI and QBTS that we might get that move to the lower Bollinger. Right? Like in concept, gold and RGTI, which is odd. They obviously have nothing to do with each other fundamentally, right? A revenueless. Well, I guess their commonality is they both have pretty much no revenue. Boom, boom. I hope people appreciate that. But RGTI did its two legs, really massive move, capitulatory-esque, cracks. So yeah, I am watching this to roll over, and the gold is no different. This was almost like one leg, then a second bigger leg, gets capitulatory-esque, we crack really hard. I can see that rolling over as well. So the theme is like, yes, we're in no man's land. So what does that mean for next week? The week ahead, I'm going to have a lot of my alerts in. I'm going to be just seeing how this stuff trades and waiting for it to either go up for that lower high, then roll over, or just resolve lower. And I think a lot of people will churn themselves within that range. And I think one thing that I do a decent job at is avoiding that churn in that range, just because so many people do damage to themselves. And if something makes a move without me, or I miss the beginning of it, I'm totally okay with that, because I'm just trying to really define and catch the high probability legs. Like if you were to look at a lot of my trading, I'm trying to catch the key moments where we either break out of a range or that counter trend starts. And right now, okay, this was a counter trend. Now we're kind of consolidating. In between, I just don't really play it, and I'm okay with it. Like if we look at this ION Q, I want to play this breakout, maybe you play the counter trend, maybe you play this, right? But then in between, it's okay to not play some of that stuff. Tons of stuff I just don't touch, and that's totally fine. Another ticker worth watching, this Tesla. I mean, you almost never want to take your eyes off of Tesla, just because this can always end up making such really nice moves in either direction. So Tesla, I'll see how this resolves. I mean, again, it's a no-brainer to have some alerts in up here. It's a no-brainer to have some alerts in maybe around the lower end of this 400 range. How it trades and everything in between, who the hell knows? But this Tesla, very much no man's land for me. It's just right smack dab in all of this consolidation. Let's see. Stuff like IREN, this also falls in the category of like, wow, that was a pretty damn deep pullback. This was a pretty damn aggressive move. So again, this falls into that category of, can I see this push towards 70? Then structure some type of lower high against that. I'm going to definitely be watching for stuff like that. And I think that's kind of the main theme for the week ahead. Some of these weeks, of course, are more actionable. I suspect this week is going to be more just having those alerts set, being on your hands. Like, it was clear last week was, okay, that counter trend is in for so many of these. This week is, okay, we're in that indecisive spot. Got to be okay not doing it. One other thing I'll point out that I thought was interesting. So this platinum. So this is another thing I'll do that I don't know if people have any interest in it at all, really. So this platinum broke out from 1500, did this leg. And so then once gold cracked, platinum crashed with it. And then platinum pretty much retraced this whole amount as well. And we went all the way back to the breakout area. So what I thought was pretty interesting was when gold was becoming a long, right? When, as I discussed about this, when we flushed out over like just about 10% in pretty much one day of trading, when gold was becoming a long, this was also interesting in platinum because it's okay if like gold should kind of be selling off because it's so run up. This platinum was a very interesting long because platinum was right back to this breakout area of around 1500. So this platinum also capitulated off that open of trading on the futures. Once that turned, that's such an interesting buy because we're right back to support. And I felt like if gold bounced, it was going to bring the whole complex up. And this platinum, which had been holding relatively strong during that, was going to really bounce. And that's actually exactly what ended up happening. So platinum ended up bouncing like 6% when gold was just a couple percent. So yeah, that's something I don't know if everyone pays attention to. And I think that also speaks to how I analyze these daily charts and that nuance and basic technical analysis concepts like, okay, resistance can become support. That's why I was so eager to buy platinum versus gold, because this wasn't some overbought chart that is super run up. It was something that just broke out, and now you're getting to rebuy at that breakout area. So that's an interesting concept for people to think about. I think that's the bulk of what I wanted to say, so maybe I will jump to some questions. Again, you'll need to apologize. I do not have an extra monitor today, so we're doing it old school. Let's see, I'm going to scroll through these. Let's see. Any thoughts on NVTS? And isn't Tesla more of a gamma play? I mean, Tesla's always running on options and everything else. But I mean, I don't want to classify as anything. It's like, oh, it is a gamma play or it isn't. It's just, I mostly want to just trade the chart. So let me jump to NVTS. Oh yeah, then I'll get to that China deal. Okay. So NVTS, this is a semi. This stock had also kind of, I mean, what an awesome breakout. Right now, this also falls in the category of just no man's land. And so this is one of those things where this definitely did not capitulate. There was nothing super capitulatory about this, but I will put in my alerts. I have no interest in shorting this. It just hasn't, it's just not that overextended, but I will put in my alerts. I will watch as this moving average comes up. Is this one of those names that will start to hold the moving average? We'll have to just keep an eye on this. So anything that's kind of in this mid-range where like $9, $10 was the breakout area, we went $8. So right now we're just at a 50% retracement, which is totally normal. And So what I'm going to do is just watch it in no man's land. I don't want to be long it right now. I don't want to be short it, but I will keep a eye on stuff like that. So the other question is, what do I think about the U.S. China trade deal? So I've not read all the headlines yet. It does seem that supposedly I think the U.S. side is saying we're close to a deal and everything. I mean, we'll see what futures do. I suspect based on the headline flow, it's likely that markets will gap up based on what I've seen so far. Again, that can change by the minute. I mean, if we get I'm skeptical there will be a deal because I don't even know. Is it really that simple at this point after it's been going on for months? Who the hell knows? I mean, if we do get an actual real deal, not like whatever we supposedly got earlier this year, I mean, the market probably does just go higher, all things held equal. But here's the thing is, if the market starts to trend higher, I'm going to be more open to an Apple, more open to a Palantir, more open to just even watching stuff like NVIDIA. That being said, how I feel about some of this froth would still hold. Like, for the most part, some of this stuff got pretty silly. Oh, the other thing is I think, I didn't read the headline yet. Again, I'm kind of behind just on everything right now. I'm traveling. But it does look like part of that headline might involve the rare earths. So you definitely need to be watching some of these. Oh God, what is it? Oh God, I'm messing the tickers up. You know, you'll want to watch some of these tickers that moved up on some of these. I mean, stuff like this UAMY, you could easily see this break down and continue back there. I mean, mega capitulation. This is a really nice tight flag. So that's worth watching. And that's why I love doing these Sunday sessions, by the way. Like, it's such a good time to just type up these tickers and go through the watch lists. Like, I didn't realize what a nice little flag that ticker. Wow, look how far back that USAR is. Wow. I mean, this I wouldn't necessarily want to be short anymore because we're just so far back. But something like this, you could easily see this continue back towards that $8 breakout level. This is like a really nice flag with that moving average there. So this is definitely the type of thing I want to be watching for that. Let's see what other questions we got. Oops, my email. I don't want that up. Oh God, folks, we're ruining it. All my work for Magnum Opus. Let's see. What's the deal? Do I trade pre-market or after hours? AB Trades is meanwhile just spamming away about revenge trading. Thank you. Do I trade pre-market or after hours? Yes, I do. GNTA, I mean, some of this stuff can just mega blow out. You got to be careful with these small names. Like, being short is just super dangerous. Oh, someone's mentioning Circle. I haven't typed up. Oh, this Circle. Let me see. I have been watching Circle. So Circle is one of those names I've discussed before. My long-standing thought on this is we're approaching lockup. Generally, lockup, I mean, I'd have to get the exact lockup date. Generally, lockup is 180 days later. That would put us, towards December. And we're not that far away, and I expect lockup to be gravity on this name. So this is one of those names where, in general, like, if this pops, I'm very interested in structuring short. And the closer we get to lockup, the stronger I think gravity will become. That doesn't mean news, headlines, whatever can't overcome gravity. But this is one name that I'm definitely short biased into that lockup where it's like, oh my God, short the pop safely with the system. Because this is one where I probably will want stock into that lockup. So this is something I'm always watching. This is always on my list. What else? Let's see. What other questions? So there is a question about revenge trading. I mean, so one thing with psychology, you can't really generalize some of this stuff. So like with revenge trading, my question would be like, why are you revenge trading? What's triggering the revenge trading? And like, God, it's actually pretty funny. So I just got off this mentorship call, and this trader is an 8-figure trader, amazingly talented, and he works with a trading psychologist. And this coach said something to him, which I thought was just so well said, and just so intelligent, and I've not put words to it myself, but the second you hear the saying, you're just like, oh my God, that's spot on. And so for context, I'm going to keep this vague just to protect the trader. So this trader was kind of fighting the quantums, as many people were. And it was one of those things where it's like, this trader knew this wasn't really a short right here, that it was just a long, it was a breakout, we're not that overextended. And so the psychology coach was kind of discussing, like, why were you involved? Well, I mean, the trader was asking, look, why was I involved? I knew this was dumb. It was breaking my rules. I knew this wasn't a good setup. And what the coach said was just such an intelligent point. And I've never put words to this like it. But essentially, why do we get involved with revenge trading or this FOMO trading? The reason why we do it, and I think even with my own psychologist, Dr. Katz, he's really good at analyzing, humans do things for a reason. It might not be obvious to us why humans do things, but there's always a reason. Anything we do is to satisfy some need, even if it seems very counterintuitive. And so how do you justify why someone is getting involved in revenge trading or whatever else? And what this guy said was, the reason you're doing that is because the pain of being in the trade and losing that money is less than the pain of not being in the trade and it working. In other words, our fear of missing out and our fear of the trade actually working without us exceeds the pain of us being in it and losing the money. And man, if you think about it, I think that really is so true. And because there's times where we're fighting these stocks, we're fighting the stock here, we're fighting the stock here. Why are we fighting it? We're fighting it because we're scared it's just going to crack. We're scared that, oh my God, this stock's a zero, it's just going to crack and you're going to miss the whole move and it's going to melt with you, it's going to melt without you. And we would rather lose 5K or 10K or 100K than see that stock stand the chance of melting without us. And I think that speaks to the power of some of these emotions. And so here's the other thing. Part of why, I think psychology is so important. And the other great thing I've learned from my psychologist is when someone has a view, it's kind of less interesting what the view is and more why they actually feel that way. That's where the really interesting question is. It's okay, let's say you're pro-vaccine or anti-vaccine. Okay, both have their reasons. But what's more interesting to me is, why does that person have that viewpoint? Why do they feel that way? So I'm very anti-sharing of P&L and the P&L posts. My personal belief is some of that just ends up being people want internet validation. And so the reason why I'm bearish on that is because I know how that stuff affects my trading. And if you analyze FOMO or revenge trading and some of these psychological biases, the fear behind them is that this stock or this thing is going to do something without you in it. And I wonder how many traders take losses throughout the whole year because they know, oh my God, what if this stock does something without me? How many traders lost money all the way up on these quantum names because they were so scared of, oh my God, the people I follow on Twitter or my friends or my pod or whoever is going to make money in these names and they're going to make it without me. And I so often think the reason why we overtrade and break these rules that we know we should do is we're so worried about that FOMO. What if it does what we thought it was going to do? If you have the bias, oh, this stock is a zero, these stocks are garbage, this is all bullshit, it's all just a squeeze, it's all going to go tumbling down, it's a house of cards. If you have that bias, then your much bigger fear is, oh man, I'm going to be right, and this is going to do all of that without me. When the more important thing is always, I just want to be a trader. I want to listen to the chart and do what's right. I don't care about my fundamental view. I don't care whether I think these are worth 0, 10, or 100. I'm going to trade the chart. And if you're strictly trading the chart, That's how you avoid a lot of this stuff. If you're able to stay objective and recognize, oh wow, this was a breakout. We're holding trend. We're consolidating. We're breaking out again. We're not above the upper Bollinger. Like the bars aren't getting bigger. So much of what we do wrong, especially if you're an experienced trader, ends up being due to flaws of psychology. And when we let these external pressures affect our trading, when we let our desire for internet likes, when we let our social comparisons, or when we feel less than because, oh man, someone made 100K or a million or 10 million and I didn't. When you let that be your environment, you end up acting suboptimally for your trade decisions, and you end up revenge trading, you end up over trading, you end up stubborn, you end up doing trades you shouldn't be doing. And so I think so much of revenge trading is identifying, like, why do you feel that? Where's that need coming that you need to make the money back? Why can't we say, this was my setup and now it's not as good? And I think so often with revenge trading, what people end up doing with revenge trading is they fail to stay objective and handicap the trade. And when people, like, let's say I want to short this counter trend. If I short this day and we close super strong, that's a bad sign. That's not what you want to see. If we then do this bar, that's also a bad sign. If we finally turn here, so I re-short, then we do these bars here, that's a really bad sign. We're just consolidating flat. And I think so often we fail to stay objective when we handicap that expected value, and that leads to these snowballs of just really bad decisions. And that's universal for beginners, that's universal for intermediate, advanced, elite, because we're all human. And I think the more experience you get, because even when I was talking with this one trader, I think what ends up happening is you gain enough awareness of your triggers. So I generally know if I'm losing multiple days in a row, it's for the most part for two reasons. One, I'm either not being selective enough, or two, I'm fighting the trend. Now here's the thing. Nowadays, I'm very selective in my trading. So the odds that I'm not being selective enough are pretty unlikely. Like, I just only trade the stuff that hits me in the face, which is a great heuristic to use. I only want to trade the stuff that slaps me in the face. So then two, if I'm fighting some of this stuff, if I'm having a tough time, if I'm revenge trading, if I'm feeling FOMO or whatever else, generally when I snowball, it's because I'm fighting the trend. And that's when, if you know your triggers, you take the step back and you say, okay, we're just holding prior bar lows all through here. I need to wait. And now look. So first of all, I would argue none of this was that amazing. This never set up that well. But we held prior bar lows all through here. We finally break prior bar lows, then we hold prior bar highs the whole way down until here. And so if you just trust the chart and can stay objective away from FOMO and away from that pain of not being in the trade and make that objective decision, in the long run, you're going to be better for it. The other thing that I find helpful to defeat this stuff is just collecting your data. Run the data on how much revenge trading hurts you. When you get back involved, how often does that ever work out? How much P&L do you give up over the year? If you know that 80% of the time you're going to end up regretting it, if you know that over the course of a year you're going to lose 5K or 10K or 50K, armed with that data, I find it a lot easier to be conscious of some of that stuff and avoid those patterns, especially if you know why, like what emotional need you're trying to satisfy. So I hope some of that helps there. What else do I want to answer? Okay, this could be a fun one. Matthew Capozzolo. I have an interview with SMB Capital this Tuesday. Do I have any tips? So first of all, best of luck to you. I mean, SMB is an incredible firm. All the guys there are great. I don't know whether you'll meet with Jeff, Bella, Carlton, whoever. Anybody interviewing for some of these trading jobs, my best advice to you is they're really trying to solve one question. That question is, what makes you a better expected value than the other candidates? So you want to think of that just like we analyze trades. Like, it's Bella's job to analyze traders and figure out which trader is the best expected value. So you want to convince him or them of a couple things. One, like, how are you sustained passionate for this? Have you proven passion and work ethic and everything else? How developed is your trading? Do you have, as one reader or as one commenter pointed out, do you have a playbook? Have you developed your trading? I don't think it's necessary to be profitable or anything like that, but can you kind of walk the talk and show passion? Then I think the other thing that's really important is like, what differentiates you as a candidate? There's some candidates that are amazing athletes, so they're very coachable. They know what it's like to compete at a high level. There's some people that at SMB were pro gamers, like Swang. And so Swang had a lot of experience of making really fast decisions, being very fast on the keys. All of that translated to making Swang be a special trader. Another example is they have traders at SMB that have a lot of coding or backtesting skills. So if all of a sudden you're really, really good with coding or backtesting, then all of a sudden you can add value to your team there. You can differentiate yourself as a candidate. So I would be asking, one, what do you have to prove that you're a better expected value than them? And what differentiates you as a candidate? Like what's really special about you and your story? They do get a ton of applicants, so it's highly competitive, but I think that's a good way to think about it, and doing your best. Now remember, every interview is ultimately, it's a sales pitch. It's your job to be aggressive and convey and advocate for yourself. Don't necessarily, you want to put the ball in your court and take control over that interview and get the points across that you need to get across. You do not want that interview to end without you having appropriately shared that story of what makes you so special and awesome. Let's see, what else? Still in drawdown. I mean, if you're still in a drawdown, I mean, you got to do the work and figure out, what's causing that. I mean, ultimately, if you're in a drawdown, you're taking bets that probably don't have positive expected value over the long run. So I can't really diagnose this without looking through a lot of data. Do I think success in intraday trading is impossible without tape reading? No, I don't. I think tape reading can be a skill set that's beneficial to some intraday trading. But no, I don't think it's impossible. In fact, I would say many traders don't use intraday trading. Reading the tape. And one, can you apply to SMB Capital outside of the US, like from Asia? I think generally not. They kind of want people in person nowadays in the office and everything. Okay, so I'll do BTC on this other question. Is the overall market direction an integral part of your strategy? No, not really. I mean, I'm cognizant of it for breakouts. I'm cognizant of the context of stuff like that. But overall, I'm trying to trade stuff generally idiosyncratic from the market. SanDisk is not moving so with the market. I want to find, BYND wasn't moving with the market. Like when BYND is collapsing, I don't give a shit what the spiders and the Qs are doing. It's trading idiosyncratic. So now let me do BTC and maybe I'll do one or two other things. Okay. I mean, BTC, all my current views on this pretty much still hold. What's so fascinating is the market's at highs, and this is really relatively weak. So I do think you need to be open to can this roll over time. Again, not anytime soon. It's probably needing to consolidate, but that's not good. BTC is concerning. So I mean, my views kind of stayed the same on BTC for a while, but of course it can change. Do I really think this bull market is near its end? No, I don't. Not only do I not think that, but I just don't even have so strong of a view. I have no idea. Is it necessary to do a playbook every day? No, not necessarily. Do what's right for you. I find them helpful, but in the beginning stages, it's extremely helpful. In the later stages, it's less helpful. How much should I spend on replaying trades? I don't know, maybe hour or two a week. nothing super crazy. A lot of chart review. So the reason why I'm doing charts and chart analysis for these sessions is because I truly believe it's the highest return on your investment. Let's see. Someone's asking if I'm considering overall market conditions for betting exponentially. No, not really. I mean, BYND was an A+, and I don't care about what the market's doing. I don't care about other leaders. All I care about is what BYND is doing and stuff like that. How important is lifestyle away from the charts, diet, exercise, and your mental intake? I think it's super important. I think all that stuff is critical. I have videos on sleep. I have videos on diet and exercise. I have multiple interviews with health experts on my channel for exactly that reason. I mean, sleep had the highest correlation to the rest of my trading. So I do think it's all extremely important, and I think sleep is still underrated. Do I think I could spec my ideas / analysis to an algo? Yes, I've tried. I just think it's extremely time consuming, and I just don't care enough to bother. Why is Nikos so good? If we're thinking of the same Nikos, it's because one, he's a genius savant, and two, he understands all the concepts, is extremely introspective, and knows when to bet big, and is highly attention to detail, and is just, Nikos is just a savant in many, many ways. Infinite respect to him. Okay, I'm going to do maybe one or two more questions, then call it. Myron's asking, how long should it take to do a playbook? Find what's useful and beneficial to you. I don't think there's a right answer. It's if you're not going to review it or it's not going to be beneficial, don't do it. Do what's making sense. Yes, I use a ton of catalysts. So I have a video coming up literally on how important news is and everything else. So yeah, news is very important to me. What separates a guy like EE that's able to handle mega drawdowns? Don't believe what you see on Twitter. EE greatly dramatizes everything to the downside. Yes, he has very, very high risk tolerance, but he's one of those people that, yes, he's real. I know that as a fact. He is an awesome, successful trader, but I do think he highly dramatizes his Twitter. He does the opposite of the same way everybody only cherry picks their wins. He only cherry picks his losses because that's his persona. So he definitely, a lot of what he does is extremely performative, in my opinion. He is extremely talented and knows what he's doing and has a high risk tolerance, yes. But I don't know him well enough to speak beyond that. I've been an OG user of Aura. I've probably sold over maybe 50 Aura rings to people. Not that I get a commission. I just, I've recommended it so much. Still holding losers too long and winners too short. There's no such thing. It's just you got to hold it to the proper stop. And you find that from back testing, forward testing, collecting data. Good prop firms, Trillium, SMB Capital. There's not that many. So here's the final question I'll take, because then I got to, get back to other stuff. So given that many people made a lot of money this year, is a 100% year to date very good? So there's no such thing as what's a good return. I hate that question because it's like, who are we comparing to? All that matters is, are you satisfied with it? Are you satisfied with your returns? That's the only thing that matters. Maybe you're a short bias trader and maybe this had a lot of opportunities, or maybe it had a little. Maybe if you're 1 year in and you did 100%, that's amazing. Maybe if you're 20 years in and you did 100%, that's very bad. There's no way, it doesn't matter what anyone else did. It's not apples to apples. If you're comparing yourself to hedge funds, yeah, 100% is incredible. If you're comparing yourself to the top day traders on Twitter, 100% is going to be beaten. But it just doesn't matter. Just play, who cares what everyone else... This is why I hate... So going back to the psychology of stuff, I get so much flack for hating the just ecosystem of Twitter. And it's because it makes these unhealthy comparisons that take you away from focusing on your game. Like, it literally does not matter how anyone else is doing. The only thing matters is how can you perform your best. And the more you focus on others, the more you feel less than, the more you focus on cherry-picked data. Like, the people sharing their results on Twitter, one half of it's bullshit, and the other half is extremely cherry-picked. There are so many traders you don't hear from when they're in holes. There are so many traders you don't hear from when they're having tough times. You do not see their losses. So for every million traders that are down 50%, 30%, 80%, you will never see those posts. So like, there is no more toxic than doing these comparisons. Like, are you proud of I don't know, you tell me. The only person that can answer is 100% year-to-date very good is you. Not me, not like anyone else. Like, I don't care how anyone did. If you always compare yourselves to others, you can never be better than them. You know, like, there's always going to be someone better out there, and it's just irrelevant and inactionable. Like, the whole point of the bobblehead and everything I preach is for you to stay in your lane and play your own game. Like that's why all this stuff gets me so tilted. It's not because of my ego. It's not because I'm an asshole. Like, I want everybody to win. I want everybody to make money. I want everyone to be happy. I truly wish the best on everyone. But I know that this ecosystem, some people can use it for motivation. Great. I admit that there are benefits, but my personal view from talking with hundreds of traders is that in the aggregate, these comparisons are unhealthy. And not only are they unhealthy, they're just not productive. The most important thing is, can you focus on being your best self every single damn day? The only way that I got to where I am is by focusing on myself every damn day. And there were always at Trillium traders that seemed like they were going to be better than me. The only way I got better than them is by playing my own game. You can never become the best by playing the game of someone else. The only way to get better is every single day relentlessly improving. Any effort you expend on focusing on others or feeling less than or FOMO trading or being upset or thinking, oh man, someone crushed it and I didn't, all of that is wasted effort that can be better spent on just getting better every day. So yes, I do have a very strong bias against that. I'm not saying I'm right. That's just my view. That's just from, the people I work with. But I hope that helps. That is my final thing on this wonderful Sunday. I will be mostly out of pocket for a couple weeks, but I'm still going to try and do these. Everybody, I wish you well, truly from the bottom of my heart. I have nothing but love. I know this game is extremely, extremely hard. I'm just trying to share my knowledge. If you enjoyed this, give me a subscribe, give me a comment, give me a like, give me a share. And guess what, friends? I will see you all next week. Thank you so much.